Welcome to the Social Podcast, where no discussion or debate is off limits.
Welcome to The Social, everybody. Joining us today, co-host of Josie and Jamar on Toronto's Chum 104.5, Jamar McNeil is back.
Thank you.
Okay, y'all, after U.S. President Donald Trump's unproven claims that pregnant women shouldn't take Tylenol, linking acetaminophen to autism, we heard from a lot of very concerned Canadian parents. So today we've decided we have Dr. Sheila Wijayasinghe here today. She's coming on a little bit later. Yeah. So Dr. Sheila is here to answer all of your questions, so please stay with us for that important conversation. But another important conversation we kick the show off with, Jimmy Kimmel Live back on air tonight. Very happy about this. So we all know that last week he was suspended. There was a lot of protest. And listen, it was all about what freedom of speech meant. There was a flurry of dissent, plus a lot of Disney cancellations as a result of that move. So Kimmel had commented on the U.S. president's reaction to the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, which Disney deemed ill-timed and insensitive. That's what they say, why they yanked him off the air. So he'll be back tonight. What are we hoping to hear from him?
First of all, I don't know what you're doing, but I know what I'm watching tonight. I'm watching Jimmy Kimmel. And I want everybody to remember this moment, because if anybody ever tells you that boycotts don't work, remember this moment when ABC suspended Jimmy and infringed on his First Amendment of free speech and how they reacted. There are a lot of rumors about how much money, and the numbers won't be really known until much later, but one thing we do know, that it hurt their bottom line in their stocks, and they lost between $3.8 and $5 billion. Between people, unsubscribing, I was one of those people. It's the first thing I said when I gave that reaction. But I think this is going to be exciting, because if ABC had to go crawling back to Jimmy to fix this situation, it puts Jimmy in the driver's seat. And I'm sure him and his manager are like, we'll come back to save you, but I'm coming back on my terms. So I cannot wait to hear what he says, because Jimmy's always really been fantastic about touching the pulse of whatever's going on, whether it was a pandemic or the president or a school shooting. And I can't wait to hear what he's going to say. But more importantly, I think this is not just a win for him. This is also a win for Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers and the ladies on The View, because we know that Donald Trump was mentioning them like, oh, you're next. But I'm sure that people at Peacock and NBC were sitting back watching this disaster for ABC going, whoa. We don't need that. So I'm sure those other hosts are feeling a little bit more confident. My only sadness is I wish we did this for Colbert. I wish we did this for Colbert. But what do you think, Jamar?
Three big things you're going to watch tonight. You're going to see big emotions. Jimmy Kimmel is a huge emotional guy. He's made a real evolution from, I'm an OG from The Man Show with Adam Carolla. He was a very different host, very different subject matter, and he's really tapped into just the sentiment of a lot of people in the country right now who are just saying, we're emotional, we're drained, we do feel like we don't have a voice. So it's big emotions, big platform. We just finished the Charlie Kirk event, Memorial, which was an interesting event, to say the least. I think this is going to be a stark contrast. Jimmy has the platform to draw a contrast to that event and the tone of that side of the aisle.
Interesting.
So I think you're going to see, he's going to take that opportunity not to spit fire and brimstone, but to be a little more calm and actually emotional and maybe even sane-minded. You know what I mean? And the last one I want to say is huge ratings. The ratings are going to be massive. It's going to be crazy. I mean, this is, as Donald Trump would say, this is must-see TV. That's what it is.
Well, Donald Trump will be watching for sure as well.
Absolutely.
I don't know. You're right. He has this incredible ability to be able to take really serious topics. Everyone remembers when he came out and talked about his son, who was in the hospital, and he got very emotional. He can also do sort of poignant kind of conversations, and of course, he can be very funny. I am curious to see if he is going to come out guns a-blazing. Do you think he's going to come out guns a-blazing? I know we hope so, but I'm not sure he will. I'm afraid, and it'll be interesting to see, because I'm sure we'll talk about it tomorrow. Will he be a bit muzzled? Because let's be honest, we work in this industry, and we know. Sorry, spoiler alert. There are things that go on behind the scenes that you wouldn't know about, and oftentimes there are conversations in the past that we've had where it's like, you don't touch. We're not going to touch this, or we need to really be careful about this. And so I wonder what kinds of conversations, and we probably will never know, have happened behind the scenes in order to get him back on the air. I don't know. I'm curious.
Yeah, I think here's the thing. I hope in my heart, I'm hoping that he comes out with defiance. That would be my thing that I'm looking for. But I think what Jimmy Kimmel is really adept at doing is something that the President of the United States himself right now is not able to do. And that might be to actually calm the rhetoric and unite people. I think he's going to have eyes that people are going to be hate watching tonight who have never watched his show before because they're on the other side of the aisle. This might be an opportunity to appeal to them, not because he's trying to bow to them, but to say, we are all fundamentally on the same team.
Yeah, that would be
now,
that would be interesting.
The scrapper in me says, you go out there and you show them hell. But we're in this industry, and I don't know if he's going to. I think we're going to break records. He's going to break records with ratings
100%.
tonight.
Absolutely.
Because no matter if you're Republican, if you're Democrat, if you're independent, every Canadian, we're all watching. So how do you get, but how do you keep those people?
I firmly believe the burden is not on him. No. He's already won the battle. You know, to seal it and win the proverbial war is to heal. And I think that's the real win here. That's the opportunity he should take. I think he will take that opportunity.
Interesting.
We'll see how petty he is tonight, too.
Petty meter, right?
Yeah, we'll see how petty Jimmy is. All right, so let's move on. Someone wrote to the Toronto Star advice columnist saying they're a local celebrity concerned about their public persona because their wife has no filter and will post about their fights online. So would you be upset if your partner posted about your relationship problems? Jamar? Remember, your wife is watching, so...
Yeah. Hey, sweetheart. 100%. I think this is also like, you know, a lesson in relationship building. You have to be intentional when you pick your partner. I personally picked someone who really doesn't use social media as a meter for our relationship.
But you do.
Not really. No.
But you use social media.
For my business.
Okay, but do you ever mention her at all in your social media?
There are pictures of her. She exists.
Okay.
But like, I don't mitigate our numerous situations on social media. It's not the place, it's not the platform, and it really doesn't move the meter for us. What moves the meter is how we interact at home.
Yes.
Move the meter, Jamar.
Is there a case to be made, though, that like what we often see on social media with couples is only the perfect moments? It's like these perfectly curated, I'm so in love and da-da-da-da-da. Isn't it sometimes helpful to actually see, listen, we've had hard times. Listen, like, is there something normalizing about showcasing those
for maybe
things?
like a therapist, but not for like a person. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Maybe
why does that have to be the platform to prove and like mitigate these things? I mean,
I think it's just dirty fighting tactics. I'll be honest. I think it's a guy who wrote in about his partner putting this all on blast. Where's the consent in all of this? We talk about consent all the time. My husband is not on social media. He looks at it from time to time, maybe just to try to find where his wife is. Where is she? I joke. But I think the point is consent. That is not consensual. If I haven't consented or asked him, hey, can I post this? Then I don't post it. I also have a daughter. She's 11. She is now at the age to say, Mommy, I don't want that. And you know what? Absolutely, honey. I'm going to respect your boundaries. So this is a consent issue, and I also think it's dirty fighting.
You know what? You guys are being really nice about it. I say that your partner doesn't like you. I think, because seriously, what is the motivation for blasting this? And you know that they're a celebrity, so this might affect their career. What is the motivation for putting that? No, but you are very careful about what you say. You do not ever put him out there in a way that makes anybody go, I don't know about that. A fight is something very different, and I think that you have to watch the partner that you have because I don't think they have your best intention at heart. This is not the early days of social media where we just thought it was an innocuous place to vent your feelings. We've seen 140 characters ruin people's lives. So why would you put your partner's business to take a chance at ruining the way that you guys feed your family and take care of yourself?
And I gotta just say it too, this would feel very different if the guy was doing it.
No, you're right.
Oh, yeah.
You're right.
I'm gonna let that hang right there. It would feel very different if he was doing that.
It did not get any reaction, but I got your back on that.
Okay, so a man wrote to the Washington Post saying he and his girlfriend are apartment hunting, but his girlfriend makes less money than him and can't afford to split the rent 50-50. He says her biggest monthly expenses are hundreds of dollars for takeout and shopping and thinks she should adjust her budget to afford half of the cost of housing. So what do you think in this situation, Jamar? Should the split be 50-50?
Based on the story this man has told, she technically can afford it. The conversation now, and this is time to put on our big boy pants and have big conversations with our partner. Do you mind adjusting your budget to help me with this part of the rent? or would you rather a smaller apartment or a bigger closet? Like, what's the split here? And then he has to live with what she says. But I also feel like in cohabitation situations, there is no 50-50. It's all house money. Like,
Like you put it into a pool? Is that what you mean? Like
even if you don't put it in, it is what it is. Like, you live together. Like, right now, when I buy a gift for my wife, I swipe the credit card, she gets the notification on her phone like when I bought.
Okay.
Like, it's like,
Right.
is it really a gift? It's like all of our money, you
it's
know?
all of your money. Okay, but you guys
Yeah,
are in
yeah.
you have a child, or you're in a serious, like a very serious
Yeah,
situation.
absolutely.
You're making faces over there.
Listen, I'm doing my best. You see my hands underneath the table? This man rubbed me the wrong way in a, okay, first of all, don't talk to me about 50-50 unless we're making the same amount of money. Right on. It's ridiculous for you to know, and we don't know how much of a discrepancy there is. Suppose he's making $4 million and she's making $150,000. That's a huge discrepancy. And I also don't like that this idea that it feels like a little control freakish, because it's like, well, you could afford it if you'd stop spending money on all those frivolous things like, you know, your makeup and your hair and all that.
Okay, but
eating out.
wait.
We work out so that we can have a balance in life. I'm not just working to pay rent and make payments. I also want to go out and have a good time and hang out with my friends and buy a little lip gloss. And I shouldn't have to give those things up so I can be house poor. So great, I can afford it. I'll take all my money and put it towards rent, which don't even get me started about that.
But
it's like,
is it worth the conversation?
But
What do you think? Do you think
I
it's-
have no balance.
Do you think it's worth
feel-
the conversation?
I think it's worth the conversation.
Yeah.
And if I were her, I'd be like, I think your problem is you need to date a girl who's in your tax bracket. Because you are a bean counter and you want everything to be fair, but it's not fair if I make less. So go find that girl and have a nice life.
Well, I think it's a bigger conversation. Yeah, could be money. But we know a lot of people who have pay discrepancies get along very, very well in relationships. So is this about the money, or is it something deeper? Maybe it is power. Maybe it's that their goals don't align. Maybe that it's very clear 40 to 50% of relationships end because of money.
Yeah.
And that could be people making different amounts, but I think their goals don't align because he's asking her to make sacrifices because he says, because I don't want to live in a smaller apartment. Well then why is only one side making a sacrifice and not the other? So it's a power thing, it's a
We're assuming
relationship
the worst
thing.
of this guy.
I know.
I'm
It's-
sorry.
like
We-
It usually happens.
Honestly, for all the things that we're assuming the best of her, we also can possibly put the lens on and be like, maybe this guy actually, just by nature, is a saver. Maybe he's the one who wants to cook, all the meals. We don't know
Boring.
actually anything.
Well, we do know.
I
No,
think
he
it's a
did
great
say-
opportunity to have a
If we're-
good. I mean, when you are married, you have to have these conversations. You're
That's
not
right.
even married yet. I
But
mean, this is a
here's the
good
thing.
test run.
He has
for that,
said in
you
the
know?
article, he said specifically, I do not want to become financially responsible for her.
Listen, I'll
That's
say
what
this.
rubbed me the wrong way.
That
This
said
is what I'm
something.
talking
Okay,
about.
I'm gonna just say this out loud. I know somebody whose son is in a relationship right now, and she's deeply concerned about this exact thing. Like, this is something where, at a certain phase in life, you don't necessarily want to become financially responsible for someone else. It's okay. You're right. The best thing I think we can all agree on is that they're having these conversations now. Because if they cannot agree on how to spend their money and how to separate things now, they are never gonna make it.
Yeah, but no,
know-
he's asking a advice column.
It doesn't sound like a conversation to me. It sounds like he is assessing, he knows how much money she makes, and he's telling her, this is what you need to do in order for me to go into this rent, this lease with you. And I'll say this much, if he's really concerned about the finances, well, what's her debt? You don't know.
We don't know
Yeah, you
anything.
don't
You
know.
should be
We
more
don't know. This is
concerned
all
about
part
that.
of the
You're talking about
conversation.
rent. If she's paying all of her bills and she doesn't have any debt and her credit score is great, why are you harassing her? This is something where I think, again, he sounds like a bean counter who's being very controlling about, like, you need to stop spending money on these things so that I can live the way I want to, and we make sure it's right down the center. And as you said, nothing's ever 50-50. So already I think it's a red flag.
There's no. Listen. Listen. Don't buy the milk if you're not going to buy the cow. That's
does
what the
that
old
mean?
folks would say.
What does that
Meaning-
mean?
Where are we going, Jamar?
They
Jamar,
need
where are we
Jamar,
going?
you
I got
better
your back.
dig your way out of this
What
one,
does
my
that
friend.
mean? Let him explain.
Who's the cow here?
They-
Who is the cow in this situation?
The relationship. The relationship is the milk, and the marriage is the cow.
Okay.
They need to. They need to get
that was
married.
close.
They need to get married.
You know
They
what?
do not need to get married.
Because I mean, these cohabitation situations they're roommates.
I
They're-
agree with
They're
you.
acting like roommates.
Yeah.
Okay, all
He's
right.
staying
These
in
are-
his house and she should stay in hers.
That's what I'm saying.
I-
Like they're doing something that they're probably not ready for. Like I said, my house is all house money. Like, no matter how much money I spend, no matter how much money she spends on groceries, that's our money.
I love that for
It's
her.
There's even the
house money.
perspective.
I love that for her.
Like,
But there
it's not
is-
my money, it's our money.
Sure, it is our money, but
Yeah.
I think it's the spirit with which you say that. And it
Yeah.
doesn't sound like he's coming to the table with the spirit
They're not
of,
ready.
we are a partnership.
Yeah.
Whoever makes more money in my household,
That's what
the
I'm
idea
saying.
is if I do make more or if he makes more, we both benefit.
Yeah.
This guy looks like he is drawing lines in the sand, and they've only been together for a year and a half. This
Maybe
is
he's
doomed.
had a bad experience with someone trying to get
And then
his
he
money.
should go to
We
therapy
don't
and fix
know.
that.
He's about to have another
He should
one.
go to
I just
therapy
don't
and
want
fix
this to
that.
be all about like he's the worst person ever. I think that we have to start to think like there are two sides to every story, and it sounds like this story should not
We're not
continue.
saying he's a bad person. We're just saying that he sounds like he's a tightwad who's counting every
No,
penny.
tightwad is harsh. I mean,
God.
in this economy, a guy like him actually is frugal.
Thank you.
Interesting.
You're being PC about it, but
Okay.
okay, we're gonna leave it there.
Well, this was fun to have your perspective on the show today, Jamar. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
So you can catch Josie and Jamar weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Toronto's Chum 104.5. All right, everybody, we said this off the top. U.S. President Trump is now telling pregnant women not to use Tylenol, citing unproven links to autism. Now, autism experts say that the claim made by the president is not backed by science. And yet, these remarks have had a huge impact on women and parents really everywhere. So Dr. Sheila Wijayasinghe is here with the cold, hard science. Dr. Sheila, thank you for being here. Okay, let's talk about the science. Is President Trump right or wrong about the link between autism and Tylenol?
He is absolutely wrong. And this is so upsetting for the medical community and for parents and communities. Like, I'm so angry right now hearing this. Like, we knew that this was coming when they said that they were going to come up with a cure for autism. And it's so upsetting to see that they're linking this. There is no association between Tylenol use or acetaminophen use and autism. Like, bottom line, there are studies that have been done that do not show any link. It is callous and it is unfair that they're making these kinds of comments to the entire population. The medical associations around the world are reeling right now from this commentary, and it's causing so much harm to so many people.
Yes.
Yeah. And for anybody who's listening and watching right now and just doesn't understand, maybe it's a man who's like, I don't understand what this is about. Why would a woman need to use Tylenol during her pregnancy?
Yeah, so Tylenol is one of the safest medications we know and use during pregnancy for things like pain and fever. And pain and fever are not benign conditions in pregnancy in particular, because we know that unmanaged pain, unmanaged fever in particular, can increase the risk of miscarriage or early labor. And so this is one of the mainstays of treatment that we know is safe. There's not very many things that we can use in pregnancy. It's basically medical misogyny trying to take away an option that we know is safe for women and taking away choice. That's happening here as well as a secondary layer on top of this.
And we know it's been used for decades and decades and decades safely with pregnant women.
100%. It has been used for decades and decades. There's a study that's 2.5 million individuals that were studied looking at that association. There is no link between that, and it is, again, wrong to say this, and it's completely unacceptable.
Of course, you know, this is an administration that has its own definitions of science. So, of course, they, you know, of course, have talked a lot about vaccines. So can you please set the record straight? Do vaccines have a link to autism?
No. So vaccines do not have a link to autism. Tylenol does not have a link to autism. Like, we need to say that. This has been really, really harmful because we're seeing that vaccine-preventable illnesses are making a comeback right now. It is completely inappropriate, but we're seeing this rolling out now in this way. And so absolutely not. There's no association between vaccines and autism either.
So, you know, we've seen, you know, the rise of autism. Partially, I understand, because that umbrella term has now started. Like, the rise is not actually a rise. It's more like there are more things under the umbrella of autism. Yeah. But do we actually know really what causes autism?
Yeah, so the first cases of autism happened before we even had Tylenol to use. That's a separate issue here. But autism itself is, and I want to first say that to all of my patients, to the community members who are on the spectrum or neurodivergent, like, you are loved, you are cared for, you are valuable members of our society. Like, this is dangerous what they're doing right now. And so first off, I want to start with that. And I have to say, like, it is a multifactorial condition. It is a complex diagnosis to make. We know that genetics play a large role in this. It is not due to a vaccine causing this. It is not due to a pill causing this. And it's really, again, it is a complex medical diagnosis to make. But again, this is such a disservice to parents, families, and everybody. They're oversimplifying it, as they do with everything, for messaging and for fear-mongering.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on it already, but talk to us about why this type of rhetoric is so dangerous coming from this administration.
Yeah, I mean, I think many of us have already had so many calls from our patients, our loved ones, wondering, like, is there truth? Even though we know this is utter garbage, like, we are still believing parts of it. As parents, we try to make the best decision possible for our kids, listening to our clinicians to try to find out, like, how can we best set them up for the rest of their life? And that starts preconceptually, in pregnancy, and beyond. And so causing that seed of doubt is such a harmful thing for parents. We already carry enough guilt. I think it's so awful to be able to do this, and that's a harmful rhetoric. And then it just also is punching down on people in our society who are already struggling sometimes, and it's really unfair.
I know as a doctor and as a mother and as, you know, someone who's got young kids herself, I'm sure you are hearing all the DMs, getting the calls from your patients, but specifically people in the autism spectrum disorder community. What are you hearing from the community about this this so-called announcement?
I think a deep sense of hurt. And just feeling like we are being made to feel undervalued. We are told that this is something that we could cure, and that is so unfair. And I want to honor all the people who are speaking out, using their voice to speak up about this and sharing their perspectives, because it is such an important thing to fight back against. Like, we're doing this as a medical community. We are going to fight back against this kind of rhetoric, but it's also listening to the voices of those who are most affected that we need to also amplify and listen to, because it's really affecting them the most.
I mean, again, this is an American president, and yet we know that that has impact over here, even if our officials are saying things differently. So what's your fears around that and the impact that it could have on Canadians?
I think we try to say like, we're protected because we're in Canada, but I think this messaging seeps into our politics too sometimes. We have to be aware that things around, like, saying things like vaccines or medications can cause these things, or the medical misogyny that we see and taking away of rights, we're at risk of that as well. And so we need to be aware of that and speak out about it and stop it from happening here as well. So we are at risk.
Listen, you were already booked to be here today, so it's just the perfect timing, so to speak, that you are here and being able to address this conversation. I think everybody's thinking about whether you're a parent or not. What is the one thing that you would like to say, the last thing, so everybody remembers the message that you want to spread today?
So what they're saying is untrue. Tylenol does not cause autism. Please know that you are cared for by our medical community. We are looking out for you. You're doing the best that you can for your kids. You did not make any sort of mistakes in pregnancy or otherwise making those decisions. Tylenol is safe, and don't listen to that garbage.
I hate to say, but I probably think we're going to end up talking about more nonsense that comes out of the White House, for sure. We're lucky that you were already planned to be here. You're going to stick with us for the show as well. Dr. Sheila, thank you. It takes a lot of courage to be a doctor right now. I'll tell you that. Courage and energy.
Subscribe to the Social Podcast so you don't miss a fiery debate. Until next time, socialites.